Hi everyone. Hope you're all doing good. Okay, so this is the fifth round draw for the 38th edition of the Tapology Lucky Bastard Game. For this round, we have four people left. We had six in the fourth round, and we have four still going into the fifth. So, just to remind ourselves who those four lucky bastards are, they are Calfoth, D1, D4, K10, Damien Handel, 420, and Jack Soto. So, good luck to all four of you. And obviously, given we're getting towards the business end of this now, it does mean we get to a few permutations as to how this game might end. Obviously, best case scenario, if one of you has a winning fighter, and nobody else does, then that person is the champion of the 38th edition. If uh, two or more of you have winning fighters, then obviously we go on to a sixth round. And worst case scenario, if all of you have losing fighters, then unfortunately the wheel will have to be declared the winner. And we don't want that to happen. So hopefully we'll find a winner. If not this round, then definitely in future rounds, however many that might take. But for this round, anyway, we've got a UFC Fight Night, courtesy of Dricus Du Plessis and Kamaru Usman headlining it. Obviously, Duplessis, coming off his loss against Hamza Chimaev, who's obviously now the middleweight champion as a result of that fight. And okay, that was a very dominant victory from Chimaev, but uh, until Strickland, there's nobody had an answer to him. So again, that's you can't really hold that loss against him too much. But up until he ran into Chimaev, he was completely dominating the middleweight division. He even had wins over Strickland, a couple of wins over him. Um, so it's an interesting sort of rock paper scissors situation going on at the top there. And obviously, Kamaru Usman, former welterweight champion, but past his prime now to say the least. But he is coming off a win against Joaquin Buckley, so he's looking to build on that. But very tough veteran, very tough to finish. So I don't think Duplessis is going to finish Usman, despite how versatile a fighter he is. But he should take care of business fairly comfortably. We've shown plenty of times Duplessis is comfortable going the distance against Usman or against other fighters. So I'm sure he will against Usman. Uh, so he'll be happy to stick to that sort of a game plan, I reckon, where just see out a victory for a unanimous decision. That's most likely scenario, in my opinion. But of course, you're not here to listen to my predictions. You're here to see who you're getting drawn with. So let's start the proceedings. Let's get on with it. First up is Calfoth. So let's see who Calfoth gets paired with. Just quickly make sure yeah, I'm on the right screen share part. Otherwise, you wouldn't actually see it. But here we go. Let's see who Calfoth gets paired with. And he gets Alvin Hines. Alvin Hines there for Calfoth. And very scary looking dudes, these two, aren't they? And Alvin Hines, of course, is coming off the loss last time against Johonta Denise, but that is the first and so far only loss of his career. Still 7-1, so still very green, but still the more experienced of the two because Harris is 5-0 in his career, so he's still undefeated. Still have the confidence of an undefeated fighter going for him, and I do fancy RJ Harris for this one. I reckon to do it by submission because that's even though Hines has shown to be fairly good on the ground, having a good few wins by submission himself. this seems to be the ground games definitely seems to be the strong point of RJ Harris, making his debut in the UFC, and I'm sure he'll be looking for a strong start to the his time in the promotion. And yeah, I don't see any other way that he gets it done other than by submission. If he's going to do it, it's just a question of is he good enough to finish Hines? Maybe, maybe not. But judging for what we've seen of these two so far, which admittedly isn't very much of either of their careers, especially not at this kind of level. Um, it's yes, obviously Harris has been good in the LFA, but the LFA and same for Hines as well. But the LFA and the UFC are slightly different levels. So yeah, it's a very intriguing fight. Um, and but I think Harris is going to get this one by submission or maybe a decision. Depends how tough Hines is. If he can, how long he can fight off submission attempts for, really. But again, this is a very close fight. So this is a real 50-50 one. Now, I do fancy Harris, but this is pretty much a 50-50 fight for Calfoth. So could have been better, obviously. Could have had a massive favourite, but all things considered, that's not too bad. So might get away with this one. Okay, so we move on to D1, D4, K10. Let's see who D1, D4, K10 gets drawn with. I wonder if that stands for anything in particular. D1, D4, K10. Anyway, he gets Christian Leroy Duncan. Christian Leroy Duncan for D1, D4, K10. Fantastic knockout artist, especially back in his Cage Warriors days. Um, feels like feel like he's been in the UFC for a while now as well. Actually, sort of showing my age a bit there. Um, but yeah, it's obviously that was with him. The knockout threat is the main threat for him, from him rather. Can go the distance as well as he showed against Roman Dolidze last time out. But it's just a question against someone at the level of Jared Cannonier. Can he do that? It's it's a tougher ask than some of his other opponents, but I think he can. I think I think Duncan's got the power to win this, and he is a fairly heavy favourite by the bookies as well. He's minus 400 apparently. I wouldn't say that's he should be that heavy a favourite, but he should be a favourite though. So that's a good pick. I think that Jared Cannonier as well. He'll be happy to keep the fight standing as well, and unfortunately, that will play into Duncan's strengths. So it's yeah, this doesn't look too good for Cannonier in my opinion, but it's for D1 D4 K10. That's a brilliant pick. That's I was saying just a second ago that you could hope for a big favourite, and that's what he's got in Christian Leroy Duncan. I don't really see too many scenarios where Cannonier wins. This might do by decision if he's going to at all. Perhaps if he can completely shut out Christian uh, Leroy Duncan, but I think uh, Duncan's favouritism is justified here, and D1 D4 K10 with a very good chance of making it to a hypothetical sixth round. Um, Calfoth has, I reckon, with a 50-50 chance. So at the moment, this puts D1, D4, K10 in the driving seat to potentially win this, or at the very least, certainly buys him another week anyway. Okay, so we move on to Damien Handel 420. Let's see who Damien Handel 420 will be matched with. Oh, a nice long one for me to type out here. Jean Paul Lebos Noyani. Apologies to butchering the name of that. Just give me about an hour and a half while I write all that name out. Uh, so it's Jean Paul. That's fairly straightforward. Jean Paul Lebo Snoyani. Yeah, I think am on the PowerPoint page, aren't I? Yep. Um, yeah, that's a long one to type out up against Siok Hyun Ko or Ko. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. If it's Ko or Ko. Anyway, I've got Ko to win this by decision. Ironically, given his name's KO, but it's he does seem to have he's won quite a few of his fights by decision. All of his ones in the UFC anyway have come by decision, plus his contender series fight. Um, did have quite a few stoppage wins in his regional days, but obviously that seems to have slowed down a little bit as the competition has stepped up, has progressed up to UFC level. Doesn't seem to be finishing people at UFC level, but still getting the wins though. So that's a very promising sign. And it's like I say, especially for young fighters, it's always good to see them being able to have the stamina to go the distance. Because so many times we see younger fighters who that if they win all their fights by knockout on the regional scene, then when it's time to step up, once they can't find the knockouts, they don't really have a plan B and gas out. But that's not been a problem for Ko. And I'd say that is largely the strength of his of why he's the favourite. Lebos Noyani, of course, is also coming off win on his UFC debut, although that was a split decision against Phil Rowe. So good start, but maybe not 100% convincing from Lebos Noyani. Um, it's only a slight underdog, and it's not too bad, all things considered. He's obviously very good on the ground as well. Does tend to finish fights quickly as well. That's the other thing about him. So if Ko gets off to a slow start, Lebosiani could punish him for that. But I think Ko should be the favourite here. And he is. So again, another I wouldn't quite call it a 50-50 fight. But it's yeah, I'd say more like a 40-60 fight. And fortunately, Damien Handle's got the 40 side of that. But all things considered, though, that's not bad. It could have been a lot worse. It's never good to have an underdog in this game, but it could have been a lot worse than that. Um, the wheel hasn't truly been horrible as it can be yet in this round so far. Um, okay, so now we just move on to Jack Soto. Let's see who Jack Soto is going to be matched with to conclude this round. And gets Tabatha Rishi for Jack Soto up against Fatima McClimb, of course. Tabisha, Tab. I always think it's Tabisha, not Tabatha. Tabatha, Ricci. Anyway, another one where it's a slight underdog, or well, I'd have thought it'd be a slight underdog because turns out I've just seen the odds for it, but apparently I wouldn't have had Klein as a Klein's got her opponent. Klein is minus 500 favourites. I don't quite understand that. Yes, she should be a favourite, more like minus 200 or thereabouts, but I wouldn't have thought minus 500. I thought that's a bit extreme. Um, I do think Klein is going to win this. I think she's going to do it by decision, but and she is the stronger fighter of the two, on the better run of form. But to be honest, it's I'd say there's not a huge amount of difference in terms of the quality of the fighters they've been fighting. Both have wins over Angela Hill. But to be fair, a lot of people have decision wins over Angela Hill. Um, Dudikova is a very strong win, of course, for Klein, but Amanda Ribas is a pretty good win for Tabitha Ricci as well. So going off their opponents, I wouldn't say there's a huge um, difference in quality to justify Fatima Klein being such a heavy favourite, but she is in the better form. So I suppose that's what the bookmakers are going off, and she does always have that knockout threat about her. But again, I wouldn't think that Tabata Rishi. I think she's a bit too good to be caught by anything foolish. I think, yeah. So as I said, I've got Klein to win by decision, but I am surprised she's as heavy a favourite as she is. Um, as for Tabisha, if she's going to win, it will be by decision. She does tend to go the distance a lot in her fights. More cautious approach to the fight game, but yeah, as I say, I'm surprised that she's such a heavy favourite. Even if I do think that Klein should be a sort of a moderate favourite, but suppose in terms of a betting point of view, it might be a bit of value on Rishi if you think she's going to win. But unfortunately for this game, I do think Klein is going to win. I don't think it's going to be quite as dominant as some people are expecting it to be, but I think Jack Sotto's definitely got the worst of these four options. Because if we say we've got Calfoth with a 50-50 chance, D1, D4, K10 with a reasonably good chance with favourite. Damien Handel 420 with a slight underdog and Rishi with a larger underdog. It's yeah, Jack Sotto's definitely got the short end of the stick there, even if I do think that the bookmakers should be rating Rishi a little bit more. Okay, so that concludes the fifth round draw, sorry, for the 38th edition of Tapology Lucky Bastard Game. So just to remind ourselves, we've got Calfoth with Alvin Hines, D1, D4, K10 with Christian Leroy Duncan, Damien Handel 420 with Jean Paul Lebodaziani, and Jack Soto with Tabitha Ritti. So there isn't really a main event here because there's no double ups, there's no head to heads in this round. So I suppose it's up to your own personal opinion, what the best fight is, if there is a unofficial Lucky Bastard Game main event at all for this round. Um, and as I said, you've got a 50-50, two underdogs, and a favourite. So D1, D4, K10, a very strong position to win this. Because if we assume the underdogs lose, which we can never take for granted, but if they do, then it's down to Calfoth and his 50-50 and Alvin Hines. And that's, of course, assuming that the favourite in Christian Leroy Duncan does actually win against Jared Cannonier. But um, it's, I think we could be looking at a two-way round next week, or D1, D4, K10 being the sole winner this time around. And I think both of those scenarios are equally likely. Um, the good news, it doesn't look like we're on track this week to have the wheel win it. If the wheel is going to win this, he'll probably have to wait another week. But I think there's a good chance it ends this week, or um, it just depends on the Alvin Hines fight, I guess. Depends which way that 50-50 one flips. But as I say, don't write off Jean Paul Lebasiani as well either. He's got a good chance to make it potentially three in the next round. But we'll see how it all plays out tomorrow night anyway. So all that leaves me to say is best of luck to you four. Uh, best of luck with your picks on Tapology. If you got any bets on this card, good luck with those. But until next time, so long for now.